Hi, I thought I'd do this video. I'm going to call it Bedtime with Amanda, but I'm not actually asleep. I'm not actually sleeping. I'm in bed, chilling. I want to tell my story. I want to tell my story about my granddad. I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm just laughing. I don't know. Don't ask me why. I want to talk about my granddad. He's my hero. My grandparents were really lovely, and I was closer to them than I was my parents. So it was really nice, right? Because my home life was crap. At the end of the day, I was living with two of my brothers, and we didn't get along. They were bullies. I had to stick up for myself. And crazy, absolutely crazy. Didn't like them. Actually had hatred towards my brothers. And so, one's 12 years older than me. He must be like 50 now, part of the mafia, and he's married to a police lady. Anyways, I don't see him, don't care. Hallelujah. My granddad was in the war, the World War, and he was amazing. He really was an amazing guy. He had so much to talk about, and his memory didn't fail him. He had a memory, was spot on. He remembered absolutely every detail of everything in his life, like the war and everything. So, that's amazing, because a lot of the time they don't, people that have been through the war don't talk about it much. But he actually felt, he had a lot of experiences. He was, in charge of like liners, big ships, big boats, whatever it is, liners, and the detail and everything about these boats. He was a boat fanatic, and he was in charge of the liner and had to make sure through storms, it was like, he said, it was like the storms were absolutely out of this world, and he was responsible to get the people on board to where they were supposed to go. So he had a big responsibility of getting through these storms, on these liners that he was in charge of. And he was also proud, because he's a very proud Englishman. He was. I say he is still, because he's not here, but he is here with me, around me. He's like my guardian angel. He always lets me know when he's around. So he was proud, because he used to, in a boat, sort of chauffeur around the Queen, when she was a lot younger, when she was a young Queen, so, he did that as well. I don't know how he came about doing that, but he said, I remember he said to me that when he was driving the plane, his friends thought he was dead because a bomb went off. My granddad, the bomb went off, and he obviously jumped out of sight, jumped away before and when it went off. He just managed to survive. But he said he felt something sort of help him, push him out the way. Sort of, he, said it was an angel. It must have been a guardian angel. It just something, he felt another force, to help him. So even back then, my granddad was sort of very open-minded, and to be the person, the man, the granddad he was, he's got to have good abilities and be very, very skilled in all types of ways, very gifted. So I'm I was proud of him. I really was interested, like that. When he was talking to us, a lot of people tell him to shut up, because he did go on, a bit like me, and he annoyed a lot of people because he had so much to say, and he might have been a bit uppity. I mean, what man wouldn't, if he went through all these things in the war, his friends thought he was dead. But anyway, he got in his plane and went back. And they were like, oh my God, he survived, you know. And he had medals, but he didn't take them because he was so proud. And he was like, he just didn't want to take them. I can see his point. I can see why. You know, some people don't. Some people just think and say, you know, I did what I did because I should have and would have again. And that's what I was supposed to do. And, you know, I'm not a hero, but I think he was, you know, and he was responsible. And, you know, a lot of people in the war, you know, had a lot of responsibility, obviously. It was a very traumatic, bad time. My nan was under the bunkers and that, waiting for him. And he actually said when they first met, my nan had asthma, chronic asthma, and she had some sort of disease before when she was born, and it made her lungs really not develop properly. So she had chronic asthma, you know, even when she was younger, when my granddad met my nan. And his friends used to say and take the piss out of him and say, you know, just basically put her down. It's discrimination. It's been going on since the World Wars. Do you know what I'm saying? Don't go out with her. She's just going to be a liability. You know, she's got asthma. But my granddad loved her. And when he first met her, he said, if I don't come back from the war, he left her all his money, everything, to her. He said, well, I don't know, all of it, but he gave her money. And he said, if I don't come back, I want you to have this money in case I don't come back. But he did. So brilliant. Okay. So, yeah. He was such an extraordinary, brave, brilliant guy that made my life a lot brighter when I was a child. He took notice, you know, in a healthy way. He took notice, obviously. He took notice of me, you know, and he spent time, both him and my nan spent time with me and took me out to places that would bore some kids, I think. I don't know, but I found it amazing. He used to, like, take us to me and my brother to places where we'd watch the Spitfires go off, you know, the Spitfire planes do loops and the red arrows and everything in the sky. So, you know, it was an event and it was a brilliant time. We had picnics and we went to, like, the sports centre and, you know, we played with the boats and got on the boats and went in the water. And, you know, I never actually went out much with my parents, didn't go out much, take us out much to the beaches, and one holiday or two holidays to Butlins. And I didn't want to go back with my mum and dad. I wanted to stay at the beach. I was in love with the beach so much because it was somewhere I really loved to be, and I still love the beach. And I refused to get in the car, and I was so tough. I was like a real tyrant at a young age, you know, 3 or 4, I think it was. And I remember now, I was like 5. And in the end, my dad got in the car while I was stood outside the car and wouldn't get in. And he drove off to scare me, to say that I'd, you know, get really panicky and scream. And, you know, he was so pissed off because I was so stubborn. So I pissed him off that much. He had no patience, my dad, anyway. He was fucking useless. So he went off in the car, went round, you know, the block or wherever, because he's probably so mad he had to get away from me in case he fucking, I don't know, didn't help. But he came back and apparently I was stood still, angry, and refused to get back in the car. And he was thinking that I'd be screaming and crying and, like, having a temper tantrum and scared and run back in the car going, why did you leave me? But I was stood there still adamant. I didn't get back in. I was going to the beach. So it was nice because, you know, like I say, I wasn't talked to. I wasn't, you know, I didn't have much bloody attention. I was, you know, not talked to. Just fucking had to make up my own imaginary friend. Apparently, I was speaking to people. I was in the cupboard, you know, talking to somebody because I suspect I was bored and I didn't know where the light was and there wasn't one and I couldn't see anything. So I was speaking to somebody who was there probably to keep me company, do you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I was like, oh, you had an imaginary friend, you're always talking. And I used to talk to myself before I went to sleep. So that pissed my parents off because I just wanted me to go into bed, go to sleep, and that's it. And I was never allowed to stay up, wake up in my pyjamas. I was not allowed to go downstairs. I had to go upstairs into my room and change into clothes. So I wasn't allowed to walk around in a nightie. It was disrespectful. I can see my dad's point. It's better than being, you know, the other way, in that way. So it was nice, not nice at all actually, because I felt like a freak because I wasn't even allowed to just walk around in my pyjamas with, you know, trousers and bloody pyjama top on. So anyway, that was my dad's rules. Oh God. And I used to like, because I was so lonely and I'm not going like, oh, please give me sympathy, but it was bloody boring, you know, living there. And, you know, I spent a lot of time on my own, in my room, and like a naughty little girl all the time. And, you know, I was giving my food upstairs, like a prison really. And I was like, Mum, I don't want food. I don't want to be here by myself. I can eat the food. Do I have to? I don't want to. I just want to talk to somebody, you know. I don't really want anything to eat. I just need some company. So I was given food upstairs like a fucking animal. And I had a little TV. It's like being in jail, you know. I don't know what jail's like. I've never been in it. Can't imagine. I got the gist of it. You're not wanted. You know, you've been put in a cell because you've been naughty and you've been bad. It's just like being a fucking kid that is unwanted, like I was, and stuck in my room looking at a black and white TV and just eating my fucking food that my mum made that was slop and disgusting. She used to be a chef, but it tasted vile because all it was greasy food. I don't know what went wrong. My mum was a chef and she couldn't cook for toffee. Her food was disgusting. I couldn't eat it. I turned anorexic. I turned myself off to her food because I just didn't feel hungry anyway. Because when you're a child and you're not being brought up properly, you know, you've got things going on, and the environment's not good. You're not going to be that hungry, so because you're not happy. So I was really grateful that my granddad used to come round and take me in his three-wheeler, take me and my brother. I would have liked to have gone on my own. And we went blackberry picking. He always took me blackberry picking blackberries. But I was always the one moaning. They called me Amanda Panda, but I'm something else because I moaned. I moaned all the time. Oh, it's too hot. Can we go home now? You know, we just got there. Blackberries, we're picking blackberries. And my granddad's showing me all the flowers, naming all the flowers, going through the woods. Sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? Going through the woods. Going, you know, through the woods and stuff. And I can remember the smell. I can smell it now. I've got this really weird thing where I can smell things that I used to see and I used to smell when I was little, and I can smell it still. And all these different, like, it was just nature. I just loved it. It was just so fascinating. My granddad was just so interesting and sounded interesting and made things so much. So that's what I mean when I said he paid attention to me. He paid attention to me. No one paid attention to me and my family. I remind myself a bit like Matilda, you know. It was a bit like that sort of thing in a sense, a tiny bit like that. Parents and that not giving her any notice, any attention, and all that sort of thing, and just their crap parents, slobs, and sat there and smoking, and there was no atmosphere in my home. It was just full of smoke because my mum and dad were on fags for 40, 60 a day, you know, and I was passive smoking at 4 or 5 years of age. And I started smoking. I used to nick my dad's fags out of his cupboard, and he came in and he said he could smell smoke, and I shit myself because I was hanging out the window smoking his bloody Super Kings. What were they called? They weren't Super Kings. They were long ruffles. No, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I was smoking that and I thought, shit, because I was scared of my dad. He used to fucking give me good hidings, I tell you. Fucking hurt. Oh, anyway, so I was scared, but I thought I could jump out the window. No, my dad said, "You smoking?" And I went, and I was like, just paused, like, didn't say anything, because he could see me. Oh, that's all right, as long as I know about it. So he didn't encourage me to smoke, but he didn't stop me. And I thought, that's good. You know, I can smoke, but I never smoked in front of my parents. They knew, but he didn't say anything about it after that. So I started smoking at 14 years of age. I had my first spliff at school. It was quite a rough school. Actually, my daughter went there after me. Not after me, but she went to the same school, and there was a teacher there that taught me at school that was her teacher. So they, you know, my daughter used to talk about me and stuff. My first child born, Jade, who fixes parts on helicopters. I'm really proud of her, actually. She's doing really well. Very independent lady. So it was very nice of having it got me through my childhood. My granddad, you know, was my hero. He actually got me through it. If I didn't have my granddad, my grandma, my nan, bless her, he was always on ebelisers. She couldn't breathe properly, and he was her carer up to the day she died. And then he got cancer and he died. I guess grief can bring on all sorts of illnesses. Grief is a terrible thing. We have to grieve. We do grieve. There's no getting around that. But I don't think he couldn't live without my nan anyway. He had no purpose in life after that. He had nothing. And he used to be such a great guy, and he was so dedicated with everything in life that he did. He made such a good job with everything he put his heart into, you know. And he did serve in the war, you know. I take my hat off to anyone like that, you know. And he's been around me ever since. I think he decided, I don't know, when you move on, when you pass away, whether you have a choice or whether you just, God, I don't know what heaven is like, you know. I can't say exactly how it all works, but maybe he asked for permission. Maybe he was told to be around me on this earth realm, you know, be here. But obviously he goes off and goes to other places. The spirit can just go anywhere they want, you know. They know everything, they know everybody, and they can go to a country, they think of a country, and they're there. There's no, you know, way of travel. They just there in a minute because they can think of it, and they're there. And so he can be here with me. And then I asked him to look after my daughter. She was getting bullied at school, and her dad left her at home. And he said, "Don't do anything silly," because he knew that she was getting bullied. So she phoned me up and said, "I feel suicidal." So I prayed afterwards, and I phoned her dad and her nan and everything. I prayed afterwards. I said, "Grandad, please, 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 please." It's breaking my heart. I was so scared. I was angry because her dad left her in the fucking house on her own. She was suicidal, and kids get fucking suicidal when they hang themselves, and all sorts commit suicide because of you know, cyberbullying, Facebook bullying, just being bullied in general. Okay, bullying is a serious bloody thing. We all know there was lots of it, and there's been loads of it. Anyway, so that was my worst fear. Anyway, my daughter getting bullied. She was bullied at school a lot because she was a quiet, nice girl, and she didn't hurt or say nothing nasty to anybody. And she was so pretty, so she got bullied. She was a perfect perfect fit for bullies anyway. So I said to Grandad, please, she's in her room on her own, just be there with her, make sure she's okay. I prayed, and she rang me up, right, or I rang her up the next day or that evening and asked her how she was. She said, "Mum, someone touched me on the shoulder and I was sat in my room on my own." I said, that was grand, because that's happened to me before. I've sat in my living room in my old flat, the first flat I had, and I had something tapped me on the shoulder that is known people have spoke about this on TV as well, that, you know, guardian angels tap you on the shoulder to let you know, not to frighten you. Because if they thought you were scared, if it was going to frighten you, they wouldn't do it at all. And I never jumped out of my skin. I just looked round and thought, who the fucking hell was that? I'm in here on my own, excuse my language. And so my granddad let her know. And that's when I said, look, I spoke to Grandad. This sounds mad. I don't care what anyone thinks. This is an experience and this is what happened. I don't know. You know, I'm telling you what happened. That's it. I'm a truth teller, you know. So, and that helped. I believe, again, my granddad was a hero there, because my daughter was, we don't know. I don't know. No one knows. She probably knows that she could have committed suicide. Do you know what I'm saying? So my granddad was there again, like he's always with me. He's got me out with, you know, he's been there in situations that have been terrible, really scary and very dangerous. I've been in dangerous situations, and I just had senses of things, and I believe that helps. You know, these senses that we got are through other, you know, our loved ones that have moved on are there to protect us, you know, and we never die. We just, you know, we just move on. We just move up to a different place, you know, and move on that way. Go to somewhere else, you know. We're not supposed to know everything, are we? But I know that there's obviously somewhere that we go after, because I don't believe we just exist in space, you know. I mean, well, I can't see that happening. I can't see just we're floating in space and we can just go anywhere we like and be free. And I just don't think that is just all to heaven or wherever it is, you know, the other side, the afterlife. You know, I mean, anyway, I won't start thinking about that now, because I just wanted to talk about my granddad. This is a video dedicated to my granddad, because he is my hero. And, you know, God bless you, Grandad. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.